So the federal government's in this process of consultation and negotiation over gambling ad reform. What do you know about that process and how do you feel about how it's been conducted?
Well, it's now 800 days since the Murphy report. So you can either say, wow, they're going to come up with an incredible package that 80% of the public want, banning gambling ads, treating it as a health issue, having a national regulator, but 800 days without a response equally allows the other possibility that they've been intimidated by free-to-air TV, by the AFL, NRL, by the sports gambling codes. 800 days may mean that actually they really have not listened to the public. We just don't know.
Today there was a piece in The Guardian on one media organisation calling for some kind of compensation if there was a ban. What's your perspective on that?
Well, that media organisation, probably joined by the other media organisations, has trashed its social licence. You know, reportedly at the AGM of Channel 9 today, when asked about were they seeking compensation, Channel 9 admitted they were if there were any ban on gambling ads. Now, Channel 9 made a $271 million profit last year. It's got a market cap of $1.8 billion. When you think that Channel 9 has the NRL and 80% of 10-year-olds know the sports betting companies, the odds on every NRL game, go on the NRL WhatsApp site and see the odds, that 80% of 10-year-olds have been groomed by Channel 9. Them seeking compensation really is obscene. They have trashed their social licence when 75 to 80% of the public, particularly parents, want the gambling ad banned because they regard their children as being groomed by a legal but a adult product, a product like cigarettes that's legal, but we don't allow to groom our kids.
You used the word groomed there. That's a pretty, very strong word to use. Why are you comfortable using that kind of language?
Sadly, that's what it is. So most European nations have banned the gambling ads because they actually said this is grooming our kids. In other words, what happens with gamblers is, particularly when they get addicted, and we know that so many do, is they go to jail, they go bankrupt, maybe some get help, or they commit suicide. I've done 6 funerals myself. And that means the industry doesn't have a steady supply of new gamblers. That's why they go to the next generation, grooming kids, saying that NRL and AFL and cricket, Australian cricket, is actually only enjoyed by gambling. Kids never once identified their football heroes, cricket heroes with gambling. That's now what they do. And, once upon a time when kids could actually tell you, because of tobacco ads sponsoring sport, the brand difference of Marlboro cigarettes, Peter Stuyvesant cigarettes, the cost of packets, we said, no, that's wrong. Cigarettes are legal, but they're adult. That's exactly the case with gambling ads, and we've allowed them to groom our kids.
The government argues it's undertaken some of what it describes as the most significant gambling harm reductions measures in Australian history, talking about including establishing mandatory customer ID verification for online wagering and banning the use of credit cards for online wagering, amongst other things. And gambling itself is a legal activity. Why, and you've already touched on this, but why should the advertising be so heavily restricted if it's a legal activity?
Well, so's tobacco and alcohol, they're legal activities, but they can't advertise on the 6 o'clock news on commercial stations, but gambling does. We know that the government has implemented what were coalition under the Morrison government reforms. Bet stop, which is self-exclusion. We're glad they implemented it, but it started under the Morrison government. Credit betting, we're glad they've implemented it, but it started under the Morrison government. What they failed to do is respond to their own courageous backbencher, Peter Murphy, who lost her battle with cancer, and a multi-partisan consensus. How long has it been since we've seen that? The Murphy report included independents, Greens, Liberals, Nationals that said ban gambling ads. It's grooming kids. This is absolutely wrong. Do not give in to the power of the free-to-air TVs, the 9, 7, 10s, Foxtel, nor AFL and NRL. Parents want their kids protected from watching their football sporting heroes and thinking about it in terms of gambling. So European nations have literally said, we're stopping this, and they have. Here is the nation with the greatest gambling losses per capita in the world, the greatest gambling harm, domestic violence 3 times more if there's gambling in a family, suicides, crime, mental health, in Indigenous communities, carving up Indigenous communities, and the government, after 800 days, hasn't responded to their own brave backbencher, Peter Murphy's report for recommending ban gambling ads.
Yeah, you mentioned Peter Murphy there. She was a key voice, or the key voice, on that parliamentary report released 2 years ago calling for a ban. You're obviously deeply concerned about the way this could go in the coming months. If there was to, if the government was to back away from a ban, how do you think that would reflect on the legacy of Peter Murphy?
It'll be a terrible failure. I was at her 50th birthday party with many cabinet ministers. She died 6 weeks after that. I was at her funeral. The Prime Minister spoke really movingly and singled out her gambling inquiry and said, we are going to respond. After 800 plus days, he hasn't. So I don't think this is now a political issue. I think the coalition would actually support the Murphy report. Keith Woolahan and Jenny Ware, Liberals on the Murphy inquiry, did support it. I think it's a moral issue. I actually think the Prime Minister at her funeral, speaking powerfully about her legacy and saying we must respond, the failure to do so isn't politics now. It's transcended that. And when you have 75 to 80% of the public that want a ban on gambling ads, it's not like there's any electoral downside. Yeah, free-to-air TV might scream, but so what? They're cashed up. As I said, most of them, you know, Kerry Stokes and Channel 7 that has the AFL gambling ads. Kerry's share in Channel 7 is less than 1% of his total wealth. Less than 1%. To protect children, to actually say to parents, we know it's so hard in this environment to actually protect your kids. We're not going to let foreign sports betting companies take money offshore. Sportsbet from Ireland takes 2.2 billion out of Australia without one shop or outlet. It's all gambling ads. It's not even politics now, it's a moral issue.